Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. This morning, we're talking about an incredible family that has made it their mission to help other families understand how to grow their wealth and understanding the idea of wealth building. Kevon Chisolm is the founder of Black Wallstreeter Consultation Services, joining us all the way from Gainesville, Virginia. We welcome him to the OPT Network. So Kevon, tell me, why your family started an investment group just within your family. How does that happen?
Well, over 16 and a half years ago, my mother-in-law was involved in an all-women's professional investment club. They were called Savvy Sisters. And for 5 years, they were doing very well. And she wanted to bring the idea to us. So me being one of the family leaders, she wanted me to take charge. So we decided after several meetings, to start our own investment club. And the name of the club we decided on was Umoja Investments. And over the past 16 and a half years, we've probably made about $350,000.
Wow.
And that money, my wife and I plan to use most of that money to help fund our child's college education. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to share that success with other African Americans. And we started the company Black Wallstreeter Consultation Services, and our motto is building wealth through investment clubs.
And so your 13-year-old son, how do you draw him in?
Yeah, well, he started at 11 because he was with me at 11.
Okay.
And so he's been with me for 2.5 years. And so while I was starting the business, I sent him to a stock portfolio camp. And
a stock portfolio camp?
A stock portfolio camp.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had to drive about 45 minutes to take him to this camp because it wasn't nearby. And he was one of a few African Americans, again, in this camp. So
how'd you hear about this camp?
I'm always searching for things to keep to educate him and in different realms. We sent him to a chess camp, golf camp, whatever I can do to expose him. We try to do that, and so we found this camp and several towns over, and that's where he got his introduction to how to invest in the stock market. But I wasn't happy with the way the camp was run and the information, because I would sort of ask him some questions about what he learned and what type of information was being presented. So, but following the completion of that camp, we opened up his own custodial account with a broker so he can start investing on his own.
Was he immediately interested?
With the assistance of us.
Was he immediately interested?
Well, that's a great question. So he watches YouTube videos, right? So while he was watching a YouTube video, he saw like a Lamborghini or Maserati or something like that, some car. Uh-huh. And he's like, Mom and Dad, can you guys, when I'm able to drive, can you buy me a car? This car? And that's exactly what I did. Laughed.
Oh, this car?
Yeah. And I said that, no, but I will show you how you can invest in the stock market, invest your money, and maybe you'll be able to buy your own car someday. And that got him more interested in it because he had his idea on his car, and that got him a little bit more motivated in how things work. Mm-hmm. But when I started the business, it was not an option. I wanted him to be involved, and because I wanted him to be able to not only learn, but inspire other youth to want to invest and learn about the stock market. And
so when does he start to catch the flame of understanding money, how it works, and making the money work?
It took him about a year or so. And I'll tell you, we had a few, about a year or so ago, a few of his friends knocked on our door and they wanted him to go outside and start a lemonade stand with them. So he went outside and he was out there for about a half an hour, and he came back and he was frustrated because they kept drinking the lemonade. So so I said, look, Kamari, I put up his portfolio. I said, look, your portfolio is up $47 today. It's 85 degrees outside. And then we looked at it for the past 3 months. I said, it was the past 6 months. I'm sorry. For the past 6 months, his portfolio was up $630. I said, you don't have to sell. You don't have to go outside and sell any lemonade. Just save your money and invest in the stock market. And that's when it got a little bit more interested. Slowly but surely, got a little bit more interested. And so as the more money he makes, and the more interested he's in.
Mm-hmm. And so, for your background, you are a trademark lawyer. But give us your background from college that really helps to propel you forward in even really understanding the stock market.
Okay, so two things. Being an attorney, one, but I also have a master's in African American studies. So that I'm always drawn to how I can help the African American community based on that alone, right? I try to use my master's, although I don't use it doing my work, full-time job. I try to use what I learned. So I actually really got started investing while I was in law school. I was working, and my first investment was a mutual fund. I would put $50. It was American funds. I would put $50 a month in a mutual fund account. And that's how I started to learn, by just engaging myself in it. And I could see how the market worked from that beginning experience.
Mm-hmm. And so when you bring the idea of showing African Americans who, for in large part, many of us are not really exposed to the stock market in the way of investing and understanding investment, because it really seems like, well, I don't know enough about it to make an investment, to put my money there. How do you start to break down what the stock market is, first of all, because that's the most important thing, how it works, and how I keep from losing my money?
Yeah, so in our programs, we start with basic financial literacy, budgeting, banking. I'm a firm believer of that, because I do not believe anyone should be investing in the stock market without an emergency plan. So when a disaster emergency plan, meaning 3 to 6 months of your expenses set aside in a savings account. And we teach adults and youth that first. Because investing in the stock market, you could lose your money. You could stand to lose money. So we have to first teach people how not to be emotionally attached to their money in that when you're dealing with the stock market. Because you could let me be honest. In our investment club, yesterday we were up $2,000. Before this interview started, we are down $1,500.
Wow.
So, and that's in 24 hours, right?
Right.
So, but one of the things we do, and our goal of this company is decreasing the wealth gap between African Americans and whites. Right now, African Americans' net wealth is anywhere around $15,000. In some communities, they have nothing, right? Whites' net wealth is about $145,000. So that is our goal, is trying to decrease that, right? And what we do in our course, we teach our participants. The first thing we teach them about investing in the stock market is start and tracking, just following the stocks of products that you use. So if you shop at Target, you shop at Walmart, your son wears Nike, Apple. We teach them because we also want more. We want African Americans to be investors rather than just consumers. So we teach them how about it, because some of these products, these stocks and shares of companies are in their household. So we want to say, look, you don't only have to buy Nike, buy McDonald's, but you can be an investor. So that way you can make money while you're buying these different products. And it's not a easy money making situation now, and that's why we have to teach one another to be patient. But if you're patient, the stock market traditionally has gained 15%, average 15% per year. So there's enough there gains for everyone to have that experience from it. And we just want more African Americans to be familiar with it and learn.
So how do you encourage people that don't have a whole lot of extra and haven't been conditioned to save? How do you sell the idea of, let me show you another way?
Oh, I love that idea, and that's when I'll go back to the naming of our business, Black Wallstreeter Consultation. It's going back to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that Black Wall Street community, which at one point was the wealthiest African American community in the country, and that is working together. And that's why we encourage African Americans to start investment clubs, and that's for two reasons. One, because you pool your resources. You pool your resources, thereby decreasing the liability of investing alone. And two, the primary purpose of an investment club, in my eyes, when I try to help people start it, is to become more financially literate. So that you don't need, a lot of people feel that way, right? And I teach the kids that you don't need a lot of money to invest in the stock market. But at this point, especially with kids, because they may feel that way, but once they become adults, they get a job, they will have money. So we want to make sure they have the skills, because you can buy, and we have one of the parents in our programs, they chose, rather than buy their child a PlayStation for his birthday last summer, they bought him 2 shares in Sony, and that was about $180. So, because their kid he enjoys playing PlayStation, their child enjoys playing PlayStation, so they chose to do that. Now that will help the kid learn, that will help the family learn, is that we don't as a whole have a lot of money. So if we pool our resources, and if we learn more to save for a year, just put that money away for a year, and then you're ready to invest in the stock market. But again, you want to have your emergency plan and other things in place before you invest. So you can save whatever you have. You can join an investment club with 10 other people, and put $50 a month in. And in a year, you'll be ready to invest in the stock market.
Okay, so I want to now go to understanding the verbiage, understanding the things that we don't know about the stock market, like remediate us, take us into the remedial aspect of getting started and how to understand. Okay, so we start a group and everybody pulls their money in. What's the first thing we need to know?
The first thing you would need to know is what everyone's risk tolerance is.
What does that mean?
Meaning that depending on a person's age, like if a person is near retirement, then they don't want to invest in anything very risky, because they might need their money sooner rather than later. So we want to make sure that people are in it for the long haul. I like to say 5 years. Give yourself 5 years. 5 years with like-minded individuals to say, look, we want to have this club, this organization for 5 years, and we want to see what happens with our money, right? When we talk about investment clubs, they're legitimate businesses. They're not pyramid schemes. They're not Ponzi schemes. The investment clubs are legitimate businesses. And like you said early on, many African Americans are hesitant,
right?
Because they feel that it's a scheme, and these are not schemes. So you're learning, right? So you familiarize yourself, like you said, with these terms, and that's a great way to put it. You familiarize yourself with what is a stock,
right?
Which is buying a share in a company, right? We one of our most successful companies thus far is Amazon, right? We all use Amazon. And at the time we purchased Amazon, it was $833 per share for one share of Amazon, right? Right. And right. So most of us can't afford that. But when you have, as in our case, when you have 5 people coming together and putting money once a month, then you can buy several shares of Amazon. And how that works, you just open an online brokerage account. I'm not really an app person. I prefer brokerage accounts like a TD Ameritrade or Fidelity Investments, just because they provide the educational resources. You open up a brokerage account and you determine there's more statistics and data that you look at before you make a purchase. But that's why I always encourage everyone to track. That means to follow the stock for a while, just using paper.
Before you even decide whether you're going to buy it.
Right. Get paper. Just and we have tools that we provide, and we also sell on our website that you just use, that you're just like, we talked about Tesla early on. Like,
well, let me give people the backstory. I was telling you before we started that in school, our son, when he found this economics class in high school, it's like he just took to it. And in 2016, before Tesla really became Tesla as we know it, he chose Tesla. And the teacher thought he was crazy, but he chose it early on. And so it really, I guess, gave him a sense of, you know what, I can look at companies and I can make a decision about what I think that company's potential is.
Yeah, and Tesla just a few months ago was over $2,000 per share. $2,000 per share.
You know what he said? You know what he said, Kevon? He said, I would like to see my teacher right now. Let me get a quick break here, but we'll be back with more right after this. Stay on point. Founding Black Wallstreeter Consultation Services. It just spins us into, I know it did for me. It spins me into a new thought process, Kevon, about looking at money and being able to trust that I could gain enough knowledge, enough information, as you said, to not just be a consumer, but to own some of the things, stock in some of the things that I'm consuming. And, yes. and I think until you said that light bulb never went off. I never thought, what if I own stock in all of these things that I'm buying and spending thousands upon thousands of dollars year in and year out on? You never think about it like that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that you said early on in the conversation, and I want to just pedal back to it, is being emotionally attached. What does that mean?
So as far as the stock market, that has a very significant meaning, because it means that you want to see, if you invest in the stock market, your money, you want to see a gain right away. And you don't want to wait for the long term. And investing in the stock market and because you feel like you need the money right away. And if you don't get a return, then you get disappointed and you feel like the stock market is not for me. It's kind of like gambling, it's like you get attached to it, and we all are. And believe me, I've been there myself, because when you don't have a lot, you are mostly attached to your money, and that's the learning process. There's nothing wrong with it, but when you're involved with the stock market, you want to stay away from that. Mm-hmm.
So you can't need to have your money grow at an exponential rate initially, or if it doesn't, you'll be totally disappointed. Is that what you're really saying?
Right. It's not going to be automatic, and you never know. We can't determine. We can have some great evidence to support that this stock may be the best buy, but we're not guaranteed. Mm-hmm. But in the long run, the history of how the stock market works, you will have a gain. Mm-hmm. You will have a gain. And the thing that I want and why we're trying to do this now during this pandemic, is because this is the best time for more African Americans to learn to get involved with the stock market, because their stock prices are just so low and it has nothing to do with a lot of the companies that are out there. For example, like the airline companies, the cruise lines companies. And if we learn now and get involved in the stock market, we will see some rewards, some benefits sooner rather than later.
Good. And one of the other things that you mentioned earlier is a broker. Is it best to have a broker?
So some people, I'm more of a fan of an advisor. A financial advisor.
What's the difference?
Well, a financial advisor does not charge you a high rate based on transactions. Like they are concerned about your overall financial well-being. So their fee per transaction. So they're concerned about your insurance. They're concerned about everything about you, right? So their transaction. So if they sell a stock for you, it may be $6-10. But a broker, they're more concerned about your finances, and so they're probably going to charge you about $150 per transaction. And that's my experience. I had to learn the hard way, and not all brokers are the same, obviously. But my broker, every time I put money in my account, he wanted to spend it. Now we have an advisor. It's not the same way. So, but our club, we handle our own investments. So we do not use an advisor for that.
So for people who are saying, okay, Kevon, you have my attention, but I don't know the difference between what a fund is and what a stock is. Help me understand that.
Excellent question. And that's what we teach our participants in our programs. So a stock is like you're buying a share in a company that is publicly traded. So for example, Apple, who makes Apple phone, they are a publicly traded company, and to buy a share in Apple today might be $114 per share. So in order to buy a share of that company, you will just need just go to your online brokerage account, and you would need probably at least $120. Just have a little extra, and you can buy one share in Apple's stock, and which is not a bad company. Now an ETF or a mutual fund, ETF stands for exchange traded fund. They work very similarly. They're like a basket of stocks. They own ETFs, own mutual funds, own a variety of companies based on maybe a specific industry, like the technology industry or a consumer industry. So they're very good. I am a big supporter and investor in ETFs, because they allow you to purchase shares in company at a lower cost. And like Kamari, for example, my son, he wanted to buy shares in Amazon because we shop at Amazon. And again, at the time when he started, Amazon was a little over $2,000 per share. He cannot afford that, right. Obviously. So he bought an ETF that owns shares in Amazon. And that was only about $100. So he still was able to get a little benefit of owning shares in Amazon. And they own shares in Facebook, Google, a whole lot of companies. So that's the main difference. So ETFs, mutual funds, the main difference between ETFs and mutual funds is that you can trade intraday with ETF, means like I could trade right now, say I'm going to sell it. Whereas a mutual fund, you got to wait till the market close to sell your shares in a mutual fund.
Let's take a break here, but when we come back, I want to talk about all of those people who their money was tanked in their 401ks when the economy just went haywire, and they didn't understand what they needed to do. They didn't understand. In fact, I know people who were scared to even look at the money that they had lost in their 401k. We're going to talk about that plus a lot more. Stay on point. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. This is a conversation that we hope that every family will take in. And I know that, we're talking about increasing Black wealth and understanding it. And for the purpose of this conversation, Kevon, really, I don't know about you, but where I came from, my mother was a single mother, and it was just about getting to the next place, living paycheck to paycheck. There was never really anything to save. But as we grow and learn better, we should be doing better. And so any family that wants to do better and wants to understand how to make their money work for them, because our money should be working for us while we're sleeping, shouldn't it? Our money shouldn't just be sitting and waiting. It should be working for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk, and I taught Kamari that we talking about passive income, and that's very important. And I taught him the three ways you can make passive income, which is investing in the stock market, owning your own business, and owning real estate. So that's very important. And I think it's you hit on a very good point that I definitely came from a single parent household, and we grew up in Newark, New Jersey, tough environment, and financial illiteracy was passed down to me. It was literally passed down to me. My mother, it just doesn't happen, right? She was not financially literate, and so she could not teach me. And so when I went to college, within a month, I had 3 credit cards. And that was just a roller coaster experience from there on. So, and that's what we're trying to prevent happening. Participants from experiencing that as they get older, when they go to college, that they know to protect their credit, to save and do the right thing with credit cards. And that's what we're trying to do.
And I think that's a lot of our stories. I don't know about you, but I was a first generation college student, and we didn't have financial literacy because we were really literally robbing Peter to pay Paul. And so if we can start to teach, and I think it's easier to teach the younger kids about the value of their money, and we can stop throwing away so much money on sneakers and video games and things that really are going to depreciate. They don't support us in any way financially, other than making the manufacturers of, and no condemnation on the manufacturers, but really understanding that there's a better way to spend our money. There's a better way to save our money. And when you look at all of the pandemic and all of the things that people are going through, a lot of people will not recover because we didn't know how to take care of our money.
Yeah, that's again, that's it. I live near Prince George County, Maryland, and that's one of the wealthiest African American communities in the country. And part of that reason is because the employer, the government, the federal government is the largest employer of African Americans, one of the largest employers of African Americans. And a year and a half ago, when there was a furlough and government workers were laid off, right, many of those people could not pay their rent, pay their mortgages, feed their families. And part of that, I believe, is the lack of financial literacy. And I mean, some people, and this is white people too, making over $100,000 and living paycheck to paycheck. And that's why we teach kids, and some of this passed on to the adults, because the adults were listening to our presentation this past summer. It's like, you need to have an emergency plan. You have to put money away so when these disasters occur, you can recover. You can have. Now this pandemic is a longer period, so I'm not saying that it would be sufficient for this period, but at least right? You have this, and I think that's why it's so important that we teach our youth so we can break the cycle. Mm-hmm. I mean, we deal with kids. We have kids that are very wealthy and kids that are like me. But I'm a strong believer that those kids all go to college and they will come out in similar situations, have money. And what we're striving to do is, when you do have money, when you do get that first job, what are you going to do with your money? Mm-hmm. And that's what we're trying to stress to them, the financial literacy component as well.
And it's a mentality. Poverty is a mentality. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea of this conversation, Kevon, for us is to begin to change, to turn the light bulb on and start to change the mentality. And understanding that we don't have to spend every dollar that we have, that there is a need for savings. Because who knew the pandemic would happen?
Yes.
Nobody. I mean, it was no surprise to God, but for the most part, we had no idea. And so I think that that's why what you and your family are doing is absolutely phenomenal. Tell us, before we've got to let you go, Kevon, how people, anybody, can connect with what you all are doing.
Thank you for the compliment, by the way.
Absolutely.
So we have a website, which is www.thebblackwallstreeter.com. And there you can find all sorts of information about our investment clubs. We also have a financial literacy curriculum that we're trying to get in the school systems. And about our programs that we're offering, we have a weekend series that we're running, and we're trying to teach families how to build generational wealth. And you can also reach me at Kevon, Kevon, at thebblackwallstreeter.com. And I'll be happy to answer any questions about our services and what our mission is.
Absolutely. Kevon, when we first saw the article and we read it, I said, this is something that every family needs to understand, but especially Black families, because I don't think that many of us, and I don't want to purport to speak for anybody, but let me speak for me. For my family growing up, we never could actualize wealth and what that meant, because that wasn't where we were. We didn't believe that it was possible. We just looked at others and thought it was possible for them. But in 2020, information is infinite and the possibilities are infinite. And I think it does each person a service, especially people who are living from paycheck to paycheck, people who are overextended with credit cards, to really get literate about their finances, get smarter. We always say knowledge is power. It's only powerful when we use it. And that's what you and your family are doing. And it is absolutely amazing. We look to have many more conversations with you. And I just can't wait to see what's going to happen next in your groups. I really can't.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about our services.
Absolutely. Kevon Chisolm was our guest this morning, and he is the founder of Black Wallstreeter Consultation Services. Stay on point. We're back right after this.